It's been a long time since I've done this and got all the music together from the King George's Estates outside of downtown Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Good Friday evening, everybody, and welcome back to KC60 right here on DARPATV.com. It's still hard to say DARPA TV. I'm still so used to saying here on Shovio.com after all that time of saying Shovio.com, but nonetheless, 6 months it's been since I did a show here, and it is so good to be back on this Friday evening here, and I can't thank you enough for being here. There's a great number of people here for a Friday night and short notice, just putting it back on Twitter and on Facebook earlier today. Joel is here, Jimmy's here, my cousin Billy already in the chat room out in San Diego. So we're all over the place. We've got New York, Florida, California, 3 different states already to start things off, and here I am in South Jersey on a chilly Friday for a day in July. It was really, really cool here today. It didn't get much past 70 degrees at any point during the course of the day today. So it was very, very chilly and overcast and gray here in South Jersey. And unfortunately, it was a very, very gray day in the entire country. And I'm going to get to that in just a bit. But before I do, let me just explain a little bit. It's been a long time since I've done a show. The last time I did a program, believe it or not, was right after the Winter Classic in January. So you can only imagine just how much has gone on in the time since I last did a program here, including my Devils getting to the Stanley Cup Finals only to get smacked around senselessly by the Los Angeles Kings. Of course, that was an enjoyable run. We won't bring up what happened in the round just before that for the sake of my friend Jim Graham, because we always get into a fight anytime we talk about hockey. So I promise I won't bring up the Eastern Conference Finals, even though I just sort of did to begin. But so much has happened in that time since January, and so much has changed. And, you know, it was very, very difficult, I realized, after having done a show every single day for the longest time. I did a show from, I guess it was December of 2009 all the way through July or August of 2011, and it was very, very easy to do it when I wasn't working. And we also welcome in Christina, who is here too. It's always good to see Christina, who I'm going to talk about in a moment too, because I have a lot to get to just in this opening part here, since it's been so long since I've done a program. And welcome in Jersey Rob too, who tried out for WFAN last night at the Menlo Park Mall in Edison, New Jersey. Hopefully he will be a Fantasy Phenom finalist. Love to see Rob on the air at WFAN. He will certainly kick ass and do a ton better job than John Jastrzemski and the other guy, Sussman, who did it the year before. So we'll get to that. So I never realized that when I was doing a show, I really did. I was doing 5 hours a week live, sometimes more, because if you recall, if any of you were here with me when I started doing the program back in 2009, I was doing a show for 1 hour a day from 7 to 8 p.m. during the week, and then I was doing 1 to 3 on Saturday and Sunday. So really I was doing 9 hours on the air live every single week, and it became very, very difficult to do that. Very hard to put together a program, a substantial program for 9 hours during the course of a week. And I enjoyed doing it. You know, it was so much fun to do. And then after a while, I started to like fall out of favor, not liking it as much as I did when it first started. It got a little boring for me. I became stale, and it just seemed like every time we were doing a program, it would have something to do with kids being bullied, or it was always such a downer, which of course is bizarre, because the reason I decided to do a show tonight is because of the tragic news out of Aurora, Colorado earlier today. But we had some great times. We really, really did. When you consider that Shovio was what it was, we would go from 3 to 5. Leslie Gold would be on with Butchie Brennan. And then from 5 to 7, we had the Sid Rosenberg show. And then I would do 7 to 8. And then after that, there were so many other different programs whether it was Look at the Hind, whether it was Pounding the Beat. There were so many different shows that we did, and it was just such a fun era and such a great time. But unfortunately for me, it became too much of a burden, and then with so many different hours of working, it was impossible to do. I'd be tired by the time I got home, but I can do it now. I can do maybe an hour or two a week, maybe even more than that over the next couple of weeks, and I'm looking forward to doing that because it was a labor of love and something that I really, really enjoyed, and got to know so many great people through Shovio, and that includes Jimmy, and that includes Joel and Rob and a whole bunch of other people as well, because that was where they came. They came to see Leslie Gold. They came to see Sid, and I was just fortunate to be able to pick up on their presence, coming to see the real professionals who put on the network, which again I miss very, very much. So it is indeed good to be back. I'm still in South Jersey right now. I'm enjoying life here in South Jersey. It's a lot different than living in North Jersey, that's for damn sure. It's like being in the middle of Philadelphia, truthfully, even though on the other side of the river. I can't forget Kareth Foster. That's right, Kareth Foster did America's Girlfriend, and she had her gay of the day every single day that she had a program. She had a different gay co-host. Somehow she pulled it off. I guess she had so many gay friends that she was able to rotate them on a regular basis. So we had the great Kareth Foster, who, of course, was the sidekick to Imus in the Morning when he returned. And truly, some great memories here. So, again, now I'm still in South Jersey. I've said it before, for a North Jersey guy to be in South Jersey is very difficult when you consider that I spent my entire life making fun of Philadelphia. Now I live smack dab in the middle of it. It's absolutely ridiculous that here I am, of course, now living here, but that should be changing soon. Now, with that said, it is tough to have to start off my first program that I've had in 6-7 months with something as devastating as what happened today in Aurora, Colorado. But these were the kinds of stories that I did on a regular basis that were always intriguing because we took a different approach to talking about these things. A lot of times when there is such a tragedy in a place like Colorado, they simply give you the facts and really don't get a chance to analyze it and to talk about it as much as we'd like to. And that's sort of what I'm able to do when I put this program together, is that we can get a little bit deeper into a discussion about what actually happened in Aurora, Colorado today. And before I do that, I think it's important to set a few ground rules here, because I don't want to be accused of jumping the gun. Some people have said sometimes when you have a story like this, it's best to wait at least a day before you go ahead and start analyzing it. I'm going to, I don't guess the right word is I'm not going to honor that. I'm going to get into it right away. And I apologize to anybody who I may offend. My intention is not to offend anybody, but it may happen. So I will say that right here from the get-go. It is absolutely unfathomable to think about what happened today as one of the single worst days of carnage in the history of the United States in recorded crime. Not only did 12 people lose their lives today, including a young aspiring journalist, a young girl who was involved in the media in Colorado, in Denver. She was a very, very, very big hockey fan, and she was a wonderful young lady. But in addition to the fact that 12 people died, think about just in terms of this, that 71 people were shot. 71 people were shot today alone in this one incident. That in and of itself really speaks to the incredible amount of carnage that took place today in Aurora, Colorado, that 71 people were hit by bullets from this madman, whose name I am not going to say. If I do, I apologize. I will slip, of course, because when you think about something like this, the guy who did what he did was doing it, of course, I still believe, even we can say otherwise, for the history and for the notoriety. And that's why sometimes I think a lot of news stations do an injustice when they keep mentioning the name of the suspect in this case. That's exactly what he wanted to have happen. He wanted to have his name out there for infamy, and unfortunately it will be out there. But this is a man who decided that about midnight at Denver time, he was going to get up into a costume in all black. Apparently he dyed his hair red. He said he wanted to look like the Joker. Went into a movie theater, propped open a door by an emergency exit, came back in with tear gas and this gun, and was able to spray bullets and hit 71 people. And in my lifetime, I can't remember anything remotely close to being as disgusting as this was, even though we have lived through different things, like what happened in Virginia Tech, what happened in Columbine, which, of course, is another irony to this whole story here, was that this whole thing in Aurora, it's 15 miles away from Littleton, Colorado, where everything happened in Columbine High School back in 1999. So here it is, it's very, very close to what happened there, and it's just absolutely remarkable that in such a small distance, so much carnage could have happened in such a small period of time of 12 years, 13 years. It's just absolutely remarkable. So he goes into the theater, and he is able to hit all these people at such a short amount of time. And somebody was outside of the theater while this was happening and was rolling an iPhone, I guess it was an iPhone or some kind of cell phone video to take pictures of what was actually going on during the course of this event. It was absolutely frightening and chilling if you haven't seen it yet. And if you haven't, I've got it for you right here. I'm going to show you just a small segment of what happened outside the theater as the shooting was going on, and you'll actually see somebody who was bloodied. So you can see how much early chaos there was. That was just after the shooter did what he did, and there were so many people were coming out bloody. There was a lot of confusion. And the girl who took that video, I think she was standing there with her boyfriend. I'm surprised she just stood there for such a long period of time. Once they saw something with blood, wasn't exactly the wisest thing to be standing there, but she did in fact. And I guess from a historical standpoint, it's good to be able to see truly what was going on and the confusion and the chaos and how desperate so many people were to get the hell away. We'll talk a little bit more about this on the other side, because the first of two DARPATV.com breaks are coming up. When we come back, we'll look a little bit more at this, including a couple that brought their 4-month-old child to the movie, and the child who, of course, was injured during the whole thing. And if she's around later, I'm looking forward to hopefully speaking to Christina Chambers a little bit about these big contracts in the NHL. Shea Weber signing one offer sheet with the Flyers. So, you're watching KCN60 on DARPA TV. We will be right back. Do not go away.
Is it happy hour yet?
What? No, not yet.
So why are we here, in the pub? We are animals, we do not belong to the pub, unless it is a happy hour.
I do not know. Maybe some animator was stoned and desperately wished for talking animals in the pub.
Some crazy animator under the influence here, and I am supposed to believe this story. You're an idiot, I'm out of here.
Okay, then how about they needed short ID for DARPA TV? They used us, talking animals. How does that sound?
Yeah, okay. Better than some animator story, DARPA TV.
"21 minutes past the hour. Cadessa back with you here on KCN60 on this Friday, July the 20th. It's good to be back with you here on KCN60. It's been a long time since we've done a show. And before the break, we were talking about, of course, what happened in Aurora, Colorado earlier today. 12 people dead, 71 people injured during the entire thing. And one of the more interesting side stories to this was that one of the people injured was a 3-4-month-old infant. Now, I saw a lot of this on Twitter today, where a lot of people were asking the question, what the hell is a parent doing bringing a 3 or 4-month-old child to a movie at midnight, let alone a movie like this Batman thing? Because not that it was... Listen, I didn't see the movie. I don't plan on seeing the movie. I'm not going to see the movie. I don't like Batman movies. So that's just simply what I don't do. You know, I'm not going to go see a movie like this. But from what I understand, I saw a video on the Today Show this morning that this is a pretty violent type movie, very, very loud movie. And is somebody bringing a child to see a movie at this hour? And you know, the person who posted this on Twitter that I read it is a father. Some of you may know who he is. His name is Seth Everett from ESPN, formerly of ESPN 1050 or 98.7 in New York. He does sports on 1010 Wins in New York. He's on the NBC Sports Network. Somebody who I got to know through Sid over the years, and he had a point. What the hell is a parent doing bringing a child to a movie at that kind of hour? Now, I don't want to be a Monday morning quarterback. It's very, very easy to do that when there's a situation like this. But to think that after what happened, a 4-month-old baby could have been killed, it just blows my mind. I don't know. Maybe this is why I'm not a father and why I don't want to be a father, because I can't envision taking a kid to a movie like that. Take a look at these dopes.
My daughter was asleep in the chair next to me, and her head was on my lap. And I just remember throwing her on the ground and thinking, Jamie has Ethan. I gotta get Azza. And I got up, and I didn't see Jamie, but I got up to get my daughter and put her in front of me because she was behind me. And I just remember feeling this sensation in my leg, and the boy, or I know it was a male that was behind me, and I heard him scream, and both of us just fell to the ground, and when I hit the ground and I looked, that's when I saw Ethan on the stairs, and I just remember thinking, oh my God, and I grabbed him, and at that moment I just remember thinking, I'm not gonna die in here. Me and my kids, we are not going to die in here. I need to get them out. I need to get out there, and I didn't know where Jamie went. I didn't know if he'd gotten shot. I just knew I had to get my kids. And there was a moment where the shooting stopped and I saw people running, and at that moment I just grabbed the baby and I just grabbed my daughter and just got her out as fast as I could and just ran out. I didn't turn around, I didn't look behind me, I just got out. And then there was a moment where my daughter tripped and I just pulled her up and I was just dragging her, and I was just thinking, we just gotta get out. I just gotta get out the doors, and even if I just fall dead, just get my kids out of here.
Trying to figure out what to do. What am I gonna do? Do I run out the door? I'm tall. Is it gonna shoot the baby? Because I'm holding the baby like this. I don't know if I fell in the aisle. Like I have a few bumps and stuff, and I hadn't dropped the baby. Well, I didn't drop the baby. I fell on my arms. Like they're bruised right there, if you can see.
Yeah, again, it's only hours after this incident occurred, so to come here and to slam a couple for bringing a child of that age to an age-inappropriate movie is maybe a little bit on the insensitive side at this early point in the game, but the fact of the matter is they did, and they're not alone. They're absolutely not alone. Our friend Timmy Gillette, who some of you know from the earlier days of KC at 60, who I've known for a long period of time, said that he sees this. I saw it just the other day, too. The kid was maybe 9 months old right in front of him and was extremely, extremely loud. And it just doesn't make sense why they bring these kids to films at Hold on 1 second, guys. I'm sorry. I have a little bit of a short in my microphone wire. But the bottom line is they bring these kids to these movies. And to see something like this, that it could have just really been overly tragic for this couple. Luckily, it wasn't. Just going to take a look at the chat room. James writes, the weapons this kid had, and surely he has mental problems, are made to kill people only. This is what the great debate always comes down to. Automatic rifle 15s, assault shotguns, etc., really necessary. And James, who is, of course, in South Florida, also brings up this point, and I tend to agree with him here, okay? Now, let's put it... I heard a couple of arguments about this, about gun control and things of that nature today on TV. I saw it on Facebook and on Twitter. The guy owned 4 guns. He purchased them. He purchased all 4 of the guns over the last 2 months, and he purchased every single one of them legally. They did a background check on him, and apparently, as deranged as what he did was, he had no history. The worst thing that he ever did in his life was a traffic ticket in Aurora, Colorado. At least that's what they've said so far. So even though he had a federal background check done on him as he purchased these guns over the last 2 months, there was no reason to suspect that there might be something wrong. His background was clear, and as is the law, he was granted the opportunity to purchase these guns. Okay, but again, the question is the following, and this is something that drives me crazy, and there are Republicans who will say this very clearly, that he had every right to own those guns. But for what fucking purpose would he have to own those guns other than to kill people? Okay, I understand this whole Second Amendment argument. Everybody goes back to the whole argument about the Second Amendment, that the forefathers of our country built it into the Constitution so that when people need to get guns, they can get guns, and they shouldn't be harassed about it because they have guns, and the Constitution says so. Well, bullshit. Okay, and somebody had the audacity to post something, a picture that just blew my mind. There was a man who was outside of a gun store, and he had a sign, and on the sign it said, gun shop owners contribute to people who kill with guns. And then somebody standing there next to him with a sign that says, spoons contributed to me getting fat. I can't stand when people try to justify possession of unnecessary rifles, for God's sake, by making stupid comments like that, okay? I mean, yes, I understand the premise. But everybody sort of needs a spoon if you want to eat soup. Everybody needs a spoon if you want to eat cereal in the morning. But what purpose? Again, I will ask this question, and I've asked it for years and years and years. What purpose does it serve for people to need to have guns at all points in time? When the Constitution was formed, there weren't law enforcement agencies out there. There weren't police departments. There was no Federal Bureau of Investigation. There was no ATF or anything of that nature. And people needed guns to protect their property and their homes and their families because there was a lot of lawlessness and there wasn't enforcement of laws happening at that point in time. It's 2012 here, though, people. It's 2012. And this guy was able to walk into a gun shop over a 2-month period and buy 4 guns, of which he used one to murder 12 people and wound 71 in total. Now, take a step back for a second. I don't want to seem like I'm this left-wing nut here, although in certain cases I am. Okay, but in this regard, I want you to think about something else that somebody posted on Facebook as well. And this was written by somebody, again, who some of you may know, Nando, who used to come and watch the show all the time, who I've known for 14 years, was his teacher back at St. Anthony's. We've kept in touch over the years, and he put the following. If the people of Colorado were allowed to possess a concealed weapon and carry in a public place, which I believe they are not, is it not possible that maybe someone would have been able to stop this shooting from occurring if there were a little bit more leniency on possession of a concealed weapon? Okay. Now, this argument often comes about. It happened in the Virginia Tech massacre, where people will say, what if somebody had just had a concealed weapon and was able to shoot this guy? All the rest of the carnage that took place may not have happened. It's a valid argument to a degree. But to me, I just don't understand it. I just don't understand why it is so easy and why it's necessary, why people feel it's important that Americans can walk into a gun shop and simply, for no reason whatsoever, you don't have to give a reason as to why you're buying a gun, get a gun that way. It's easier in some states to get a gun than it is to get a driver's license. And for God's sake, if you want to get a driver's license, you have to take a written test, you have to take a vision test. A vision test is pretty important, too, if you're going to be using a gun, but you don't have to take a vision test to get a gun. So again, sometimes it's more difficult to get a friggin' driver's license than it is to get a gun. And in this case, this guy was able to just waltz in, do what he wanted, and he sprayed 71 people, for God's sake. It's remarkable. The worst attacks we've seen in recent memory, Virginia Tech, Columbine, this, etc., have occurred in environments in which the victims were defenseless and unarmed. Here in Utah, where concealed weapons on campus, where you can have concealed weapons on campus, we have a top 10 safest campus in the entire country with an enrollment of over 30,000. That comes from Rick Santorum, out in Utah at the university. So that is indeed true. I'm just looking at some of the things that have been typed in the chat room because I haven't been able to see it, and they're so damn small on my laptop it's hard for me to see. The argument then becomes this gun control resolution. I'm sorry about that. It's just hard to read them because it goes quick and there's a very little window. I think per capita U.S. citizens own more guns than anywhere else in the world, and the extreme right believes that makes us safer. If so, there should be no crime. And that's another point. Again, we have there's certain... We don't lead the world in finance, and we don't lead the world in education and science anymore, but what we do lead the world in is the number of people who are incarcerated in the United States per population, and we lead the world in the number of homicides that take place, at least that are recorded, of course. So, again, that goes back to that whole argument. It goes back to that whole argument. I mean, it certainly... Boy, I'm absolutely speechless every time I think about this. It is just remarkable how easy it was for this guy to get it, and look what he did. So again, should we have tougher laws? I think that's the simple answer is yes. The simple answer is yes, that the laws are too easy. It's just too easy to get a gun for any single reason at any point in this country, and because of it, we see what happens. You've seen it here, Virginia Tech, Columbine, Jonesboro, Arkansas. Before that, could go on and on with all these different things and all these different places where there's been such carnage, and it just continues, and continues. And this guy knew what he was doing. This guy absolutely knew what he was doing, because take a look at this. If you hadn't heard this yet, what he did at his apartment was even perhaps more outlandish when you consider how well he prepared for this day.
Right now, let's go back out to Rick Salinger. He is with the fire department. Rick?
We are standing by outside the apartment of James Holmes, where we have been all morning, and as we have been telling you, it is indeed booby-trapped inside. We're now learning more about those explosive devices, and with me is Deputy Fire Chief of Aurora, Chris Henderson. Deputy Chief, what can you tell me about the makeup of these devices inside that apartment?
Several devices, Rick, are unknown. We are assuming them to be explosive devices. In addition, we've seen several bottles, liter-sized bottles of an unknown liquid, which we're assuming to be a flammable liquid.
Gasoline, alcohol, any idea?
No, don't know what it is right now.
Any detonators that you've been able to recognize?
Well, there have been. All of these devices are connected with a wire, what we assume to be a tripwire. What exactly the wire is connected to, what all the wire is connected to, we don't know at this point.
So what do you do now?
Well, what we're doing right now, we have police officers in searching the building once again to make sure that we have absolutely no occupants of the building. Once we've done that, we'll send in a robot into the building, or the actual apartment that has the booby trap. If it detonates, we've got fire crews standing by to put out the fire. We won't actually send anybody inside the fire because there's no way of knowing if everything that can detonate has detonated. And so we'll send in, we'll actually fight the fire defensively from the outside of the building.
We are not all that far away from this apartment, and the cars passing by us on Peoria are even closer. Is that a safe distance?
We've established, based on the information that we've gotten from the bomb squad, a safe zone, and we've cleared that zone based on the information, what they actually saw inside the apartment. And we've also evacuated, I know that there were 12 units inside the actual apartment that we evacuated, as well as some of the perimeter apartments.
So we're not talking about very large explosives?
Well, as far as, I won't really speculate. Like I said, we got our safe distance from the bomb squad. I don't know personally the level of explosion we're expecting here.
What's the timing on this? When might they enter?
We have crews in right now doing the search. Once that's completed, then we'll move on to the next phase of the operation. Now, this is dynamic and ever changing, so I don't know. The plan is being evaluated continually, and it may change. But the latest that we kind of talked about is sending the robot in after we've cleared the apartments.
Okay. Thank you very much, Deputy Chief Chris Henderson from the Aurora Fire Department. So we will remain here, and the next step to make sure the apartment building has been cleared, then the robot will go in, and if the devices go off, we'll let you know. Live in Aurora, Rick Salinger, CBS 4 News.
So he had the place booby-trapped. He knew what he was doing. He knew that by doing what he did, they would eventually go looking for his place, and when they got there, thank God law enforcement is smarter than a lot of criminals, because they, of course, thought enough and thought quickly enough not to just simply enter the place. If they had, God knows what would have happened. It's 40 minutes past the hour. Canessa here with you on KC and 60 on this Friday evening. Thank you to all of you for being here. We're going to take the second of two breaks. When we come back, hope to hear from Christina Chambers. We'll talk a little hockey. We'll move away from some of this depressing shit and talk some sports. You're watching KCN 60 on DARPA TV. Do not go away, because we will be right back. It's 42 minutes past the hour. Canessa back with you here on KC and 60 on this Friday evening. A little commercial for Joel the Mouth, my buddy Joel McGurk. Of course, Joel does a show now on... I'm going to get a chance to tell you a little bit about this. Another venture that Joel's involved in, that I am too as a blogger. And it's this wonderful website called sportsrants.com. That's rants with a Z. SportsRantz.com. Where anybody can blog anything on any sports topic that they want. And, of course, I have one set up as a Devils blog. It's phenomenal. And a couple of months ago, during the Stanley Cup playoffs, the Devils were playing the Philadelphia Flyers in the second round. And somebody, well, I'll tell you who in a second, from Sports Rants posted something about the shitty ice at the Prudential Center, because it was warm, if you remember, during the second round already. It was already warm out. And I remember getting into a little thing like, oh, typical Flyers fan. Somebody's going to go and they're going to bitch and moan about the ice surface at the Prudential Center, like it doesn't work two ways. The ice is bad for all players, blah, 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 blah. And the person said, oh, no, we're not just Philly. We do it all. It turns out it was Christina Chambers. And Christina does a show on Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time with Chantel Jordan. I believe Jordan's her last name. And she's been doing the show for a long time, but Chantel is her new co-host. It's called Slicks and Sticks. And that's at 8 p.m. at sportsrantsradio.com. They talk about NASCAR stuff, and they also talk about the NHL. And Christina's been wonderful having me on to talk about the Devils. We were on during the finals. It was really kind of wild because I would be sitting there and we'd be talking about the Stanley Cup Finals while the games were on, and it was very talk about a test of my willpower because it wasn't exactly an exciting time during the finals. But they do a fantastic show on a regular basis. It's absolutely, if you're a hockey fan, must listen to radio. Again, it's Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Slicks and Sticks with Christina Chambers. And you can follow her at kchamber2121 on Twitter. And now they invited Joel to do a show on Thursday nights, and it's called The Mouth on Sports, similar to Fan Forum, pretty much, but it's for 2 hours on Thursday nights, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and it's really phenomenal to see Joel branching out and doing so much more now on Sports Rants. He's just continues to get better and better and better at what he does, and pretty soon he's going to be on the radio. I just get a very strange hunch. Not a strange. Why am I saying strange? Because there's nothing strange about it at all. But a couple of things are going on in hockey right now. And one thing was very interesting. And let me just find a picture of this dude. I'm not sure if I have it. His name is Ladislav Skirko. Okay, you should be able to see his picture now in the upper right corner of the screen. This is a guy who was a 2004 draft pick for the Philadelphia Flyers. And I can't remember exactly where it was. I want to say it was in Slovenia or something, or maybe Russia, I forget where it was. He apparently had a roommate who was a referee in the same league that he played in. And, of course, you don't exactly want to have a roommate who's playing hockey, who's refereeing hockey if you're a hockey player. So this guy has this roommate, and I guess the referee, who was a friend of his, says that he had cancer or something. I forget the whole story. And I'm in the background, I'm going to just play a little bit of a... hold on. I'm going to play a little bit of this B-reel so you can see this kid playing here. So this is the kid playing, and apparently, at some point or another, he wanted the guy to move out, and he would not go, and he would not leave the place, and what does he do? He winds up just killing this guy. He murdered this referee, so-called referee, whatever the hell he was, and he got 8 years in prison. And this is a Philadelphia Flyers draft pick. This is a guy who had the potential to play for the Philadelphia Flyers. James is on his way out. Always good to see you, buddy. And hope everything's all right down in South Florida with you. And I appreciate you popping by. So this is Flyer draft pick. This is a Flyers draft pick who was absolutely convicted on a murder charge. I guess you just got to be careful who you choose for your roommates. That's for damn sure. And just absolutely shocked me. Now, as we wait for Christina, for those of you who may be new to this program, since I haven't done a program, I often like to go back and to reminisce a little bit. And this was something that happened in the early days of Showvio when we started the network. There was I don't know who he was, truthfully, a guy who came on Leslie Gold's program one day, and he had these sock puppets. And for some reason, I love Leslie very, very much, but at that point in time, we didn't get along too well. I don't know why. But this guy was offered a show on the professional network of Showvio.com, this real terse, cursing puppet. This was great. So this is one of the all-time Showvio moments, because my show came on about an hour after the hand puppet. And when it did, I, of course, making fun of the puppet, and we were all making fun of the puppet because it was just brutal television. But after it happens, everybody came to my show with a little prop, and nobody, absolutely nobody, planned this ahead of time. I don't know, they didn't get together, they didn't find a way to do this with each other, but this was something that happened, and it is something that I'll never forget as long as I live. And if you've never seen this before, now's your chance.
lady doesn't cheat on you with other guys' cocks or suck on some other guy's balls. So...
Well, those kids were stupid.
Because that was garbage, talking about stupid things, by the way. That's the program director and allows that. That was stupid too, by the way.
That is a promo. That is a promo. You're an idiot. Oh, you got the dummy? Come on. Oh, we got puppets on here. Oh my God, what is going on here today? Look at this. I got no stories, so I gotta go with this, man. Got no stories today. Is that Jesse Helms? Who is that? No, it's Walter. Oh, there you go. Oh my God. Go ahead, Mr. Sock.
I'm bald and my beard is white.
You are on fire today, bro. You are on fire. I love it.
So that was just a little flashback to the early days of KC and 60, back to 2009, all the way back to 2009. Talk about just craziness. It all happened one after the other. Maybe you had to be there to appreciate it, but it was still one of those moments I will never forget. 53 past the hour, and one of the last things I want to do tonight is, for those of you who may not have seen the show, or heard the show rather, on the Thursday night, Joel, of course, as you know, is doing a phenomenal job on sportsrantsradio.com, and in case you missed any of his show, I put together a little clip of one of the interesting moments of the show. Again, reminder, it is, of course, on the air Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on sportsrantsradio.com, Blog Talk Radio. And here's a little clip from last night's program.
So with that being said, let's get into what's really upsetting me and what's pissing me off as a sports fan, and that's the New York Mets. And, you know, watching them these last couple days, that bullpen, we know how horrible it is. You can't even begin to describe the utter chaos, the utter discombobulation. You know, I was talking about the other day, Bobby Parnell, give him a chance. You know, and this pen, you look at it, you look at what's gone on, and give him a chance. And, you know, the pen is a hard thing. You look at the guys in the starting lineup each and every day. 1 through 9 hitters, they're out there most of the time. The pitcher's out there every 5th day. So 1 out of every 3 hits, that's all you got to do to be successful in baseball. 1 out of 3. And I said, everyday player, there's not as much pressure on you day to day unless you're a superstar to perform. You just got to go out there and be average. You do your thing and a bat above the Mendoza line. But in the bullpen, there's a whole different mentality and a whole different school of thought in the way baseball specializes these roles nowadays for pitchers. You are the 7th inning guy. That's it. That's what your job is. That's what you do every day. And there is pressure on you to do that every day, to perform. You don't have the chance of 1 in 3. You need to get 3 outs immediately, no BS. No strain on the fans of hearts, you know? The Mets got out there today, and I'm watching 9-1. It's like, what? David Wright, what? MVP, what? 2 home runs, 5 RBIs today. Tremendous. And you wonder, where does this come from sometimes? And then an odd stat ran across my I was looking at some stats, checking some things out before the show. And the Mets are 4th in runs, 6th in batting average. They're quietly, they're offensively, they got into that rut there, and I hope they're out of it now. And I hope that was the longest struggle of the season offensively. But back to the bullpen and the mentality there, a guy like Bobby Parnell, and someone says to me, Mal, what he blew it. He's not a ninth inning guy, but how do you know? That's only one opportunity. Remember, Mariano Rivera was the setup man for John Wetland. You know, so the pressure on these guys day to day is tremendous, and sometimes they're going to faulty, and then sometimes they're not. I mean, there's no excuse for their play, and do I think they need more relief help? Of course, absolutely. But at what cost? You cannot give up anything of important valor. Zach Wheeler is not, you're not trading him for relief help. Matt, nowhere. You're trading not any, you don't want to do that if you're the Mets. Don't overreact here and sell. This team is beyond the bullpen. Their offensive struggles day to day, only 9 runs today. I get that, but look at, that lineup doesn't scare you. This team is more than a bullpen help away from a world championship. All right, they need more offensive potency. Okay, they can't hang in there with the Yankees. Yes, I said it. The Yankees, and for Yankee fans out there, tremendous role you guys are on. I get it. Your offensive firepower and sustainability is like no other team out there. You're up there with the Rangers. I mean, the Rangers can battle. The Angels have shown some stuff, but those are elite offenses, and the Mets are nowhere near. But you want to make a run at the playoffs? Okay, but don't give up too much. You know, you don't want to trade guys that are going to help you in the long run. I mean, look at the homegrown talent of this team right now. And you've seen it 2 times this year, all homegrown talent in there. And they've been successful. And these guys are going to get, and they're going to struggle. They're a young team. What David Wright is doing, he's trying to carry this ball club. And all in all, they're still fun to watch. Okay, watching them lose, yes, I admitted it gave me my first gray hair the other day after the Valdespin home run to go up. Then Parnell bust my balls. Then a wild pitch, and it's like, are you kidding me? Only the Mets. To today, 9 runs, 2 home runs for David Wright, rah, 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 MVP. That's the up and down of a Mets season. We know for the past 3 years, the Mets have played well below 500. And we all seen that. And there's no denying how they haven't been able to turn it around, and they've always struggled down the stretch, and I understand that. But good, they got it out of the way. The first 6 games of the second half, it's done. It's over with. You got the win. Now you got series at home. You got a 6-game homestand coming up now. I wanted the Mets to win 2 out of 3. Thank God they won at least 1. They didn't get swept. Getting swept, we might be sitting here speaking a whole nother chatter of demise, but we're not. They won. David Wright looked good. There's still optimism. We know this team is not that good. We know the bullpen needs help, but don't give it up at a crazy cost. Make the team better, but be careful doing it. Don't trade for the wrong Zambrano. We should have never gave up on some of the pitching talent we once had. We all know that as Met fans. We've seen what some of these other guys have gone on to do. Even Scott Kazmir. Who would have known what would have happened? Would he gotten injured down the line? But at least he would have had those couple good years with the Mets.
The eternal optimist is Joel McGurk, a man who actually thinks and believes that the Mets will still find a way to get into the postseason. I love his optimism. I don't necessarily agree with it. He's nuts. Let's face it, folks. Joel McGurk is absolutely crazed about this New York Mets team, and he thinks that they're going to find a way to get into the playoffs. I hope they do. I just have my doubts. And we go from one person from sportsrants.com to the reason sportsrants.com operates on a daily basis. She is the senior writer for sportsrants.com, the Sports Rants magazine, and she is the host of Slicks and Sticks every Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. She lives in central Pennsylvania, and she joins us now, and I hope this works because I haven't done a shover in the longest time. Christina Chambers. Christina, you there? It wasn't working. I didn't see her feet. Christina, if you could try it one more time. Sometimes when people wait in the queue too long, this happens, and I am very, very sorry about that. It took me so long. I just didn't want to cut Joel's thing off. And as always, nothing can ever go smoothly. Christina knows it very well because the same things happen on Blog Talk Radio, too, sometimes with the broadcasting panel and things like that. Just when you think you got it down and you think you're ready, it finds a way to screw you over and not work properly. Technology is absolutely wonderful. So we'll see if Christina can get back in the queue. Give you a little background on Christina, too. She is the biggest Flyers fan I have ever met in my life. And of course, most of you know I've never been a big fan of the Philadelphia Flyers, but she's made me tolerate the Flyers. She really has. She's just such a nice person. She works her ass off. She works about 18 hours a day, and she's always doing some great stuff for Sports Rants, and she's working 2 jobs, and now she's back in the queue. Let's give this a shot and pray it works. There you are. Can you hear me, Christina?
Can you hear me, Kevin?
Yeah, I can hear you clear and see you, too.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, this is a weird way to meet you for the first time, face-to-face, right?
It is a little weird, but, yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry that Jim wants to puke considering I'm a Flyers fan.
Oh, he's a Rangers fan, so it's okay. We got into some huge fights. He didn't want to talk to me for the longest time after Adam Henrique scored that goal in Game 6 of overtime, which I promised I wasn't going to mention, but I had to get that one in there, too. So he'll get over it. He's just a very, very difficult Rangers fan, but that's okay.
Aren't they all, though?
Yes.
Most Rangers fans are pretty difficult.
Oh, God, I'm going to get myself into a shitload of trouble for this. But first of all, thank you for coming by. I know it's a Friday night, and you could be doing 1,000 other things, so I appreciate it very much. Tell me a little bit about this offer sheet that Shea Weber signed with the Flyers, and then talk a little bit about the contract itself, because I know you're not the biggest fan of these long-term contracts that everybody's signing. So what are your thoughts on him signing this? I know you talked about it yesterday, but for anybody who may not have been there yesterday, tell me a little bit about what you think about this this Shea Weber deal.
Well, first off, I was completely shocked by it because I wasn't expecting at 1:30 in the morning for my phone to start ringing off the hook. Well, basically, I had text message after text messages, saying, "Oh, did you hear? Did you hear? Did you hear?" Yeah, Darian Dreger actually woke me up. Thank you. I appreciate it. ESPN at its finest. But I'm shocked. I kind of like the idea of him being a Flyer. I'm not a huge fan of long-term contracts. Everybody that knows me listens to my show or any other show that I go on. I'm really pissed off at the fact that they put these long-term deals out there. Sidney Crosby, yeah, he's one of the best players in the league, but is he really going to stay healthy for 12 years? No, not even close. He might even not even be healthy the next 5 years of his career. And the fact that the Flyers totally went balls to the walls, it's a drastic change. Yeah, they still have a team, Tim. They actually did very well. But they shocked me. Homer did something I never expected him to do, considering in June he made the comment that he wasn't going after Shea Weber. We weren't going after Shea Weber. July hits, and what the hell happens? We offer sheeted Shea Weber. I don't believe Nashville can match it. I honestly don't. There's lots of stipulations as to why I think that. And the biggest thing is Nashville's ticket revenue of all last season was $26 million. The Flyers' first-year contract for Shea Weber, his first year playing in Philly, if he plays there, is over $26 million. The Flyers in ticket revenue alone had over $70 million, and that's including the Winter Classic. Huge amount of money coming in Philly. Nashville, not so much. Nashville can't afford to keep all these players. You knew Shea Weber wasn't going to stay in Nashville. It was going to happen. The sneak attack was going to happen. The fact that the Flyers sneak attack made it damn sure that the only team in the East he would play for is Philadelphia. I don't care who you are. There's no way any other team in the East can match that. It's not going to happen. I don't even think Nashville is going to match it.
Do you think that teams are starting to catch on that with the CBA coming up and Bettman's original proposal, first proposal, is to limit contracts to 5 years, that some of the ownership and somebody like a Paul Holmgren are trying to get these last-minute bigger contracts in before the new CBA comes? Again, not realizing or not understanding what the necessity is of signing a guy for 10 years. I never understood it with Kovalchuk either, and I don't with Parisi, and now with this potential sign deal with Weber. But do you think they're trying to sneak this in before we get to a point where they can't do it anymore with these large contracts? And what's the motivation behind it?
I think it's a huge sneaking. It's a huge way of getting the deal done before the CBA is finished. And what baffles me is all these owners are on the side of wanting to limit the 5-year contract, to limit this. This is all on the side of the owners because they're based on with the NHL side of it. And then you have the Players Association, which is their own thing. I wrote an article for Sports Rants, speaking of the CBA, the first proposal, what it meant, what it shouldn't mean, what it will mean. And, I'm not hitting a panic and doom. I ain't hitting doom and gloom button yet. Nobody else should be. We've got a long way to go in CBA talks. This was just the first proposal. So it's going to hit the fan, and it's not going to be pretty this offseason, but it's going to get done. The 5-year limit is, to me, maybe a little too low. I think 7 years should be a max amount of time you ever sign a contract for any hockey player, because these guys don't stay young forever. And the way the game is played today, you're not going to have a guy that's going to be healthy that entire time. 14 years is a long time for a defenseman to stay healthy. And, it's not going to work. Shea Weber, yeah, there's meaning behind the contract the Flyers put out for him. The Flyers need a top defenseman. Because, let's face it, Timo is old, he's getting up there in age, he has a lot of injuries, a lot of back problems and everything else. And you look at Mazzaros, he's on and off again with injuries. It's, the defense in Philly is a staggering health issue. It's always been, and it always will be. But Shea Weber is one of the youngest guys coming into defense. Yes, Luke Schenn is young too, but Luke Schenn is nothing like a Shea Weber. Luke Schenn is not even on the same radar. Luke Schenn is probably too small, and I don't know how he's going to fit in the East way of play, but Shea Weber is a perfect fit for the Flyers. He's big. He's going to fit well with the Broad Street. His agent even made the comment Philly is the best fit for him. So I'm hoping it all happens, and Tim, your team can go after Rick Nash. I don't want him. I don't want any part of Rick Nash. Have at it. But it's going to be interesting how this next 6 days turns out, because if Nashville was going to make a move, I think they've already would have made it. I don't think they would have waited. I think if they wanted to keep Weber, ultimately they do, but if they had the funds to do it, they would have done it by now. It's just the way the game goes. The financial office is the one making the moves on that for Nashville. It's not the coach, it's not the GM, it's not the owner. It's the financial department in Nashville, because they can't afford him.
So now speak about that a little bit more too. I was stunned when I heard the statistic that you brought up about the Nashville gate revenue only being $25 million during the course of the entire year. That has got to really put a limit on the small market teams that Gary Bettman wants to succeed. He's got this fascination with Nashville. He loves the Florida teams. He loves the small market teams. But how can a small market team that only brings in $25 million in ticket revenue which is equivalent to the signing bonus. I mean, how on earth is a team like that ever supposed to survive? Can they survive in an NHL like that?
No, I don't think so. And prime example of that is Phoenix. Phoenix isn't succeeding. They had a team in the playoffs, and they didn't start to sell out until halfway through the playoffs. It just goes to show you it wasn't even, the true Phoenix fans. They don't exist, or they'd be selling out, and whatever. But it's not going to work. And like I said in my article towards the end, I made the comment about this, the small market teams and how this isn't going to look good for them. Well, the thing of the matter is, you're not going to have a big team like Toronto. Toronto may not be the best played team. They don't play very well. We all know that. That's plain as day. You can see that even if you're not a hockey fan. But it's the thing of it is, Toronto makes a lot of money. Toronto is the money train. They roll it in week and week out. They sell that freaking arena out every game almost. You see the seats are filled in Toronto. You can't ask Toronto to forfeit money to give money to a small market team like Nashville, Phoenix, the Florida teams. Even we'll throw them in the pond because they ain't that great either. But it's not gonna work. You have big money teams like you have your Toronto, you have your Detroit, you have your New York Rangers. It's not gonna work. You can throw the Islanders in the small market team. The Islanders shouldn't even be a team anymore. I think
we can agree on that.
I hate it.
All the Ranger fans will agree on that.
I hate the Islanders. I wish they would cease to exist. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna fit for them. The CBA is going to hurt the small market teams no matter what is going to happen. It's not going to matter. A small market team isn't going to succeed. They need to figure out what they're doing with this team in Phoenix fast, because it is the dead weight of the NHL right now. And Gary Bettman tries to save it week in and week out, and it isn't working. Gary Bettman needs to learn to move on. And the Slicks and Sticks crew, me and Chantel, actually, we're trying to get a lunch together, so to speak, with Gary Bettman to tell him what the fans want, but that's a work in progress.
Tell me what you think about Bettman, though. I mean, we don't often talk about the commissioner himself. Do you like the guy? Is he doing a decent job? Is it time to move on and maybe pull some new blood into that office? Or what do you think about this guy?
I don't like Gary Bettman. I've never liked Gary Bettman. I don't find many people that do like Gary Bettman. We saw what he did with a different, professional sport. It's Gary Bettman. No, I can't say anything good about Gary Bettman. I could swear a lot about Gary Bettman, and the show would get really. No, it would. No, I have a lot of hate towards that man for a lot of things he did, and he just pisses me off. There shouldn't have been a lockout when there was to start with. We shouldn't go around saving teams that are all but bankrupt. This is not how the league works. It's bullshit. You need to get this stuff together and move on. Gary Bettman dwells on certain things he shouldn't be dwelling on. He needs to fix what they didn't fix in the first CBA renewal when they did that one. Now we're trying to fix the same shit that they didn't fix the last time. It's just this whole revolving door of stupidity that is surrounding the brain of Gary Bettman. Brendan Shanahan, okay, making him, dissolve, discipline, whatever you want, that's fine. But the fact is, he's so inconsistent, it's not helping the NHL, it's making it worse. So, I don't like Gary Bettman. Yeah. If I ever met the man, I would probably be banned.
Talk a little bit about. I'm trying not to laugh here, but it's because these great comments. Talk a little bit about Shanahan too. I mean, one of your guys, Shea Weber, was involved with an incident in the playoffs. Didn't get much of a penalty, or I don't even think he was maybe suspended one game. I can't even remember because it was so long ago. And then there were similar incidents where guys were getting 4-game suspensions. That inconsistency really all falls back to Bettman. for hiring a guy like Shanahan? And what should happen to this? Should Shanahan be in that role in 2012-13, or should he be looking for somebody who's a little bit more consistent? Boy, we've been all over the board with this conversation.
Well, we have, but no, I don't take Shanahan out of it right yet. Then you're gonna have the revolving door of nobody knows what they're doing. Shanahan, to me, all he does is spins a wheel in his office and determines the things that he's gonna do. Weber barely got a penalty. He wasn't suspended from what I remember.
That's right.
That, to me, set the tone for the whole playoffs and how it got so dirty so fast. And I thought it was a little bit on the... I got pissed when Giroux got suspended for nothing. And what Giroux did was nothing compared to what some of these other guys did that... Yes, thank you, Tim. He did get the $2,500 fine. I was pretty sure he didn't get suspended.
Yeah.
But, that pissed me off. I hope, this isn't the Shea Weber that comes to Philly if this all works out. But you can't be that inconsistent. He needs to sit down and literally re-look at his video suspensions, because okay, fine, it was an interesting point to the NHL this year, but he needs to be more consistent. He needs to re-look at all this and reevaluate what is a legal hit and what is an illegal hit, because he doesn't know what he's doing. I gladly would sit in his office with him and help him out with it, because some of the stuff that he didn't suspend for was like, are you kidding me? Because then you fined a guy or suspended a guy for the same exact thing 2 weeks before, 2 weeks later. It's like, come on. This is the stuff the NHL needs to sit down and look at. It's the only way you're going to better the sport and have more fans, or keep the fans that you've had forever now, because a lot of people are getting really pissed off at the way the NHL is going. Granted, the playoffs were amazing this season. I enjoyed watching every playoff season I did. I watched every series I possibly could, whether it was on the West or the East. Yes, I stayed up till all hours of the night, but, we all know it's a running joke that I don't sleep anyway. So, I live on, fumes, but it's terrible. I think they need to relook this stuff and, try and, I don't know, do something to fix it. It's terrible. Shanahan shouldn't be fired, but he needs to pick up his game in 2012, 2013, or he's going to have some serious fans knocking at his door.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking to Christina Chambers. She's the host, of course, of Slicks and Sticks every Monday night on sportsrantsradio.com, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. She talks about NASCAR and NHL. She's a resident NHL expert, knows just about everything possible to know about the NHL. And Christina, we got about a minute left before we get cut off with this commercial stuff. So if you would, just let everybody know a little bit about what you do with Sports Rants and Sports Rants Radio, so that they can tune in to see you or to listen to you on Monday night.
Well, Sports Rants, with a Z, of course, .com is only a little over a year old. What it is it's a site for people like me and you. We rant, we blog, we have Sports Rants Magazine. I'm an editor, a senior writer on it. Monday nights, we get down and dirty with NASCAR. Host Chantel Jordan. You might know her. She's a professional figure skater. You may not. But we rock it from Mondays 8 to 10. We don't do butterflies and unicorns. It's our new saying. A lot of people think that the girls are about fluff, and we ain't. We're probably the hardest hitting girls you'll ever meet, but it all starts out Mondays. It ends on Fridays. We have a show Fridays, but Joel's rocking Thursdays. I call in sometimes. My boss rocks it Tuesdays. More girls rock it Wednesday. It's full on realm of family. Sports Rants is where it's at, though. It's get your voice heard. A lot of Joel's friends and stuff have been coming on, and Kevin, maybe we'll have to have you on. Get you a show in there. I'll have to talk to Anthony. I dig this whole setup. We're gonna have to move it to Sports Rants Radio.
I love it. I love it. This commercial is gonna interrupt us in a second. Can you hang out for like 30 more seconds so we can wrap things up properly?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
definitely.
All right, cool. You're watching KC at 60 here on DARPA TV. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back with more with Christina. Don't go away.
Is it happy hour yet?
What? No, not yet.
So why are we here, in the pub? We are animals, we do not belong to the pub, unless it is a happy hour.
I do not know. Maybe some animator was stoned and desperately wished for talking animals in the pub.
Some crazy animator under the influence here, and I am supposed to believe this story. You're an idiot, I'm out of here.
Okay, then how about they needed short ID for DARPA TV? They used us, talking animals. How does that sound?
Yeah, okay. Better than some animator story, DARPA TV.
"21 past the hour." Canessa back with you here on KC and 60, and I didn't want to end the conversation that we were having with a hard commercial. These things are built in for 20 and 40 past every hour, so we can't ignore them, and they just come on automatically. But Christina, I just wanted to say thank you to you for all that you do for Joel, all that you do for me, and for everybody at sportsrants.com. I know you, I kid you about not sleeping, but it's the truth. You work your ass off. You put together a phenomenal product, and it's great to see as the days go on how Sports Rants just gets better and better and better every single day. More people coming by, and I firmly believe it's 100% goes back to the hard work and the dedication that you put in on a daily basis. And I thank you for that, and I can't thank you enough for spending a couple minutes with me tonight talking a little hockey, and thank you for everything you do.
Oh, it's not a problem. I appreciate it. You know, I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't have the support of you guys and the fans. It wouldn't work out the way it does. You know, it's funny. You know, this all started last April. We didn't think it would be as big as it is. That, you know, a year later, it's going to get even bigger within the next year. Anthony and I have a lot of great stuff coming up. You know, there's tailgates out the wazoo coming up where you can meet me in person. You can meet everybody from Sports Rants in person. It's going to get funky in September. You know, I kid you not, NASCAR is going to make it a wild tailgate. But you know, the thing is, I caught a lot of heat for a couple articles, but, you know, it just means I'm doing things the right way, stirring the pot, making it better for everyone in the NHL and NASCAR. We've got a lot of stuff coming up. I'll be a sponsor for a car in October for the Nationwide Series. It's huge. There's a lot coming up. Actually, a couple sports ranters are sponsors for a car in October, so we're doing big things. I kid you not, I love it. I appreciate you letting me come on. I swear I take too much time up of everybody else's show. You know, I have a 2 hour...
Nope.
hour show on Monday, and I still have so much to talk about throughout the week. We get it.
Well, every time, you never take too much time because it's always interesting, it's always exciting stuff, and I do hope we get a chance to do it again. And again, thank you on a Friday night for spending just a couple of minutes with us, and we will definitely do this again. Thank you, Christina. Did we freeze here? I'm not sure what happened here. I think we might have frozen. And I apologize for Christina. I'm not sure what happened. Yeah, I think it did freeze, Christina. But thank you again for spending part of your night with us. It was always great to have you. And I want to thank each and every one of you for being here tonight. For an impromptu show, it was a great audience tonight. So good to see so many old, familiar faces who I haven't seen in a long period of time. Jimmy and Jersey Rob and Timmy Gillette, and of course Christina and the Mouth. And this is good. This was just a phenomenal way to come back, and I hope to do this again. and do it more often in the coming weeks. So thank you for spending part of your Friday night with me here on KC and 60, of course, and really, really enjoyed this. Don't forget, check out Christina every Monday night, 8 p.m. on sportsrantsradio.com. Make sure you check in there. If you've never seen sportsrants.com, again with a Z, check it out. There's a lot of great user content there. You can write yourself if you'd like to. It's a wonderful, wonderful website and a great way to get your opinion out in sports. Christina does her show Monday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Joel does his Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So be sure to check that out. And we'll be back here at some point soon on DARPA TV for KC and 60. Check Facebook and, of course, check Twitter for times and locations. So, from just outside of downtown Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Kevin Canessa signing off for now. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again really soon. Good night, everybody.